Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're exploring one of the most improbable, frankly mind-blowing business trajectories in the modern tech and entertainment landscape. I mean, think about how completely dominant this company is in today's global gaming market. They're an absolute powerhouse, right? But we're setting the stage for a story about an unbelievable rise. We are talking about going from a cramped 50-square-meter university dorm room to a sprawling tech empire valued at over $20 billion. So, let's dive right into this. Picture it. It's 2011. You've got three computer science grad students at Shanghai Jiao Tong University, Kai HoYoverse, Liu Wei, and Lu Yuhao. Now, these guys weren't your typical Silicon Valley startup archetypes. Not at all. They were self-proclaimed otakus, just deeply passionate, hardcore fans of ACG. That's anime, comics, and games. But crucially, they were also brilliant engineers. The big question we're answering today is how did this highly specific subcultural obsession translate into an absolute global juggernaut? Section 1. 3 Tech Otakus, the dorm room days. Let's go back to their very humble beginnings to see where this all kicked off. They officially set up shop in dorm room D32, armed with this massive shared passion for anime and a 100,000 RMB interest-free loan from an entrepreneurial program. They literally had to work with their desks pressed tightly against the walls just to make room for this huge shared table in the center of the room, which was absolutely piled high with comics, figures, and light novels. Sitting at that exact table is where they forged their identity. And honestly, you can see their dual nature right in the company name. The etymology of MiHoYo is incredibly clever. The H and Y honor founders HoYo and Yuhao. The double O's, those were deliberately chosen to mirror massive world-changing tech giants. Think Google, Facebook, Yahoo. But when they found out the name HoYo was already registered, they just added a Mi at the front. This was a direct homage to Hatsune Miku, the famous virtual anime idol. It's just the absolute perfect blend of their deeply rooted otaku passions and their massive Silicon Valley-level ambitions. During this founding period, Kai HoYo introduced their official company slogan, "Tech Otakus Save the World." Now, if you're just a small team making mobile games, this sounds like a cute, kind of dramatic, and very nerdy motto. It's the kind of thing you'd print on a t-shirt and laugh about. But I really want you to keep this specific phrase firmly in the back of your mind as we go through this explainer, because as we're going to see by the end, it foreshadows something incredibly, almost terrifyingly literal. Of course, their early journey was anything but a straight line to success. After founding the company in 2011, their first major hurdle came fast. They released a game called Zombie Gal Kawaii in 2012. The problem? Well, because it was a purely single-player game with no ongoing revenue mechanics, it completely failed to generate any sustainable profit during the crucial upgrade and maintenance stages. It was a total commercial flop that drained their very limited resources, and it literally almost sunk the young company before it even got off the ground. The pressure they were under was immense. It wasn't until 2014, with the release of Guns Girl Z, that they finally hit their breakthrough and proved their model could actually work. Section 2. The Million RMB Lifeline, Surviving the Valley of Death. So between that 2012 failure and the 2014 breakthrough, the founders hit a severe financial wall. They were in a desperate struggle for funding. They're going around pitching their vision of an original animation company to venture capitalists all over the country, and they were repeatedly, swiftly rejected. Every single time. At the time, mainstream investors thought anime culture was just way too niche to ever turn a real profit. So here they were, facing the so-called Valley of Death. They had completely blown through their initial 100,000 RMB startup capital. They ran the numbers and figured out they needed at least 1 million RMB just to keep the lights on and pay themselves a tiny, meager salary for another year or two. And absolutely no traditional VC was willing to write that check. Enter Song Tao. Song Tao was the founder of a mobile internet firm called SkyMobi. He looked at them, recognized their raw technical talent, and offered them that 1 million RMB lifeline, which was about 150,000 US dollars at the time, in exchange for a 15% equity stake. Amazingly, he decided to back them before even making direct physical contact with the founders. Talk about a massive leap of faith. And here's the kicker. Because MiHoYo never took another dime of external money after this exact moment, that single, risky angel investment has yielded a jaw-dropping 24,000 times return. To put that into perspective, it stands today as one of the most legendary and lucrative investments in primary market history. Section 3. Expanding the HoYoverse, Building a Global Footprint. Fast forward to the release of Genshin Impact, and MiHoYo experienced this explosive, unprecedented global success. I mean, they went from a successful regional player to a massive international phenomenon practically overnight. But with that kind of crazy scale came brand new, incredibly complex challenges. Domestic regulatory shifts in China, things like stringent playtime restrictions for minors and a noticeably slower approval rate for new game licenses, prompted a vital strategic need. They absolutely had to expand and insulate their business beyond mainland China. So, to pull this off, in early 2022, they launched a brand new global publishing identity, HoYoverse. They systematically designated a Singapore-based shell company called Cognisphere as their global headquarters. This was a total masterstroke, effectively isolating their international player data and publishing pipelines from Chinese regulatory frameworks. And they definitely didn't stop there. They rapidly expanded with dedicated offices in Montreal to handle North American R&D, Los Angeles for Western marketing and business operations, and major hubs in Tokyo and Seoul to manage regional publishing and localization. The whole shebang. By 2023, the company had grown to an incredible scale of over 6,000 employees worldwide. Now, to manage this massive operation without losing their innovative, startup-like edge, the board passed a major resolution. The founders literally split their focus. Liu Wei took over as the legal representative and chairman of MiHoYo domestically. He's now managing the highly profitable core gaming business and the main studios. This was a critical move, actually. Why? Because it freed up CEO Kai Hayo to step down from his domestic roles entirely, relocate to North America, and pursue cutting-edge research through an autonomous startup called Anutakan. This autonomy is totally key here, allowing him to operate way outside the traditional gaming structure to push the absolute boundaries of tech. Section 4. Investing in the future. The deep tech pivot. Now, what's really interesting here is that with billions in revenues securely flowing in from their flagship gaming titles, MiHoYo began funneling massive amounts of capital into sectors that have absolutely nothing to do with mobile gaming. They are shifting hard into hard sci-fi technology, and the sheer scale of this pivot is just staggering. Just consider the investments they're making right now. They're pouring money into emotionally intelligent large language models. They're funding clinical brain-computer interfaces. They led a 400 million RMB funding round for a tokamak nuclear fusion startup called Energy Nexus. Heck, they even invested another 400 million RMB into Oriental space technology to build commercial, reusable liquid oxygen space rockets. It really begs the question, why on earth is a gaming company building literal space rockets and fusion reactors? This is a mind-bending contrast from three guys coding flash games in a dorm room, right? But it perfectly sets up exactly where they are heading next. Let's look a little closer at their AI strategy, because this is fascinating. While most massive tech giants are building AI purely for productivity, things like writing emails, generating code, or summarizing spreadsheets, MiHoYo is explicitly focused on the emotional economy. They are building emotionally intelligent LLMs. These are AI models specifically designed to understand deep psychological needs and simulate authentic, meaningful human companionship. We're already seeing the groundwork for this through upcoming projects like Whispers of the Stars, which features entirely unscripted, dynamic AI voice conversations, and B-Side Olivia Lin, an interactive desktop companion programmed with natural, slightly delayed emotional responses to make her feel incredibly real. They aren't trying to make you work faster, they are trying to build an entity you genuinely care about. And honestly, the technology gets even deeper. In 2021, this video game company partnered with Shanghai's prestigious Ruqing Hospital to co-establish a joint laboratory completely dedicated to brain-computer interfaces. They are literally funding clinical neuromodulation and severe brain disease research. Why? Why would a game studio do this? Because they are actively, aggressively exploring the long-term technological pathways required to create direct neural virtual interfaces. They are figuring out how to bypass a screen entirely and plug information straight into the human nervous system. No controllers needed. Section 5. Saving the world by 2030, the ultimate vision. So, the crucial point to take away from all this is how all of these seemingly random sci-fi deep tech investments, the AI companions, the commercial spaceflight, the brain-computer interfaces, the nuclear fusion, actually connect back to that original nerdy slogan from their dorm room, Tech Otakus Save the World. This is the end game. MiHoYo has publicly stated their ultimate overarching goal is to create a persistent virtual world where 1 billion people around the globe are willing to live by the year 2030. Just think about how this technologies layer together like a giant puzzle. They aren't just making investments for financial return, they are building the infrastructure for a completely new digital reality. They're investing in nuclear fusion because they will literally need massive, limitless, clean energy to power the gigantic AI training clusters for a world of that size. They're building emotionally intelligent AI to populate that world with meaningful companions. And they are investing in brain-computer interfaces because they eventually want to connect human consciousness directly into it, fully immersing you in the experience. From an anime club in a cramped dorm room to a $20 billion global entertainment empire to the actual architects of a sci-fi future, the trajectory is undeniably fascinating, and their ambition is unmatched. So I'll leave you with this question to ponder. As their underlying technology rapidly catches up to their ultimate ambition, are you ready to live in MiHoYo's persistent virtual world by 2030? Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and as always, keep learning.